In a quiet, unassuming town, nestled amidst rolling hills and tranquil landscapes, there stood an abandoned McDonald's restaurant that seemed frozen in time. The faded golden arches loomed eerily against the overcast sky, and the once bustling parking lot had succumbed to nature's embrace. The desolation that clung to the place was palpable, an ominous atmosphere that left even the most skeptical of souls feeling a shiver down their spine. Locals referred to it as the McDonald's of Shadows, a name befitting the unsettling stories that had circulated about the place for decades. No one seemed to recall exactly when the restaurant had closed its doors, but its unsettling legacy had remained imprinted on the town's consciousness. The chilling tales spoke of inexplicable occurrences that defied logic. Visitors to the abandoned site reported the sensation of being watched, their footsteps echoing strangely through the empty building. Some even claimed to have glimpsed fleeting apparitions in the corner of their eye, shadowy figures that seemed to vanish into thin air. The heart of the sinister legend revolved around a tragedy that was said to have taken place within the walls of the McDonald's. It was rumored that years ago, a family had stopped at the restaurant for a meal on their way to a vacation. As the parents and their two young children enjoyed their meal, an unforeseen calamity occurred. A freak accident involving faulty wiring caused a fire to erupt in the kitchen, engulfing the restaurant in chaos. In the panic that ensued, the parents managed to escape the flames, but their children remained trapped within the inferno. Despite the efforts of firefighters, the children's charred remains were found amongst the ashes, their lives tragically cut short. From that day on, locals whispered of inexplicable phenomena at the abandoned McDonald's. Passers-by claimed to hear the faint sound of children's laughter carried by the wind, echoing through the empty halls. Others spoke of a ghostly presence that seemed to be eternally trapped within the building, a restless spirit forever searching for its lost family. As the years went by, more chilling tales emerged. Some claimed to have witnessed spectral figures moving within the windows of the restaurant, their ethereal forms barely visible against the backdrop of darkness. Others shared stories of encountering an overpowering smell of burnt food and the sound of crackling flames that seemed to emanate from the ruins. The legend of the McDonald's of Shadows grew, drawing thrill-seekers, paranormal investigators, and curious visitors from far and wide. They arrived armed with cameras, voice recorders, and the hope of capturing evidence of the supernatural. Some claimed to have heard disembodied voices whispering messages of longing and loss, while others claimed to have captured ghostly apparitions on film. As the sun set behind the hills and the shadows lengthened, the McDonald's stood as a testament to the unknown forces that can lurk within the most mundane of places. The town's residents had grown accustomed to the eerie presence, accepting it as a part of their history and folklore. And as the chilling tales continued to circulate, the truth behind the restaurant's haunting legacy remained shrouded in mystery, waiting to be uncovered by those brave enough to venture into the realm of the unknown. One moonless night, a group of curious teenagers decided to explore the abandoned McDonald's and put the legends to the test. Armed with flashlights and a mixture of skepticism and excitement, they crossed the threshold of the decaying restaurant, their footsteps echoing in the silence. The air was heavy with a sense of anticipation as the group ventured deeper into the building. Their flashlights illuminated dusty counters, shattered glass, and remnants of forgotten memories. A chill seemed to settle in the air, and a feeling of unease wrapped itself around them like a shroud. As they moved through the restaurant, the flickering beams of their flashlights cast eerie shadows on the walls. The sound of their footsteps seemed to blend with the distant rustling of leaves outside, creating an almost haunting melody that resonated within the hollowed-out building. Amidst the broken chairs and abandoned counters, the teenagers stumbled upon a door that led to the kitchen, the very heart of the tragic incident that had occurred so long ago. The air grew colder, and their breaths became visible as they hesitated at the threshold. One member of the group, a brave soul named Sarah, pushed the door open slowly. The sight that greeted them was one of desolation and decay. Charred remnants of appliances and twisted metal lay scattered across the floor, a chilling reminder of the fire that had consumed the lives of innocent children. As the group ventured further into the kitchen, their flashlights began to flicker and dim. Shadows danced on the walls, and the temperature seemed to drop even further. Unease turned into dread, and the weight of the past bore down on them. Suddenly, a faint whisper cut through the silence, a whisper that sounded like a child's voice. Heartbeats quickened as the group exchanged nervous glances. Another whisper followed, and then another, growing in intensity until it seemed as if a chorus of voices were speaking in hushed tones all around them. The teenagers tried to stay composed, but panic began to take hold. Their flashlights cast erratic beams of light as they scanned the room, revealing fleeting glimpses of shadowy figures that seemed to flit just beyond their reach. It was as if the restless spirits of the past were finally making their presence known. And then, the room seemed to come alive with a sudden burst of movement. Chairs scraped against the floor, utensils clattered, and the flickering of the failing flashlights seemed to mimic the dance of the apparitions. The teenagers stumbled backward, their heartbeats echoing in their ears. In their haste to escape, one of the flashlights slipped from trembling hands and rolled across the floor, its beam casting a fleeting light on a faded mural on the wall. It depicted a family, 2 parents and 2 children, smiling amidst the golden arches of the McDonald's, frozen in a moment of happiness forever preserved. As the group burst out of the restaurant, gasping for breath and hearts pounding, they cast one last glance at the building that held the ghosts of the past. The whispers seemed to fade with their departure, leaving behind an unsettling silence. The teenagers shared a mixture of relief, fear, and awe. The legends they had dismissed as mere stories had come to life in ways they could never have imagined. The McDonald's of Shadows had revealed its secrets, albeit in a way that left more questions than answers. As they walked away, the memory of that night lingered in their minds. The restless spirits of the past had been stirred by their presence, and the town's legends had been reaffirmed. The McDonald's of Shadows would forever remain a haunting reminder that even the most mundane places can harbor the echoes of tragedies long forgotten, waiting for those who dare to uncover their chilling tales. As a McDonald's employee, I often found myself working the night shift. The restaurant took on a different atmosphere after dark, quiet, with only the hum of the fluorescent lights and the distant sounds of traffic outside breaking the silence. It was during these hours that I experienced something that would forever change my perception of the familiar golden arches. One particularly chilly night, the restaurant was nearly empty, save for a few lone customers huddled over their meals. The monotony of my tasks was occasionally broken by the soft chime of the door as customers came and went. As the clock neared midnight, a sense of unease settled over the usually bustling establishment. I was wiping down the counters when I heard a faint tapping sound coming from the drive-through window. Puzzled, I approached the window, expecting to see a customer waiting to place an order. But to my surprise, the drive-through was empty, the cold night air carrying with it only the distant rustling of leaves. Shrugging it off as a trick of my imagination, I returned to my tasks. But the tapping persisted, growing more insistent with each passing minute. I felt a chill run down my spine as I realized that the sound was coming from the other side of the window, as if someone were trying to get in. I cautiously peered outside, half expecting to see a mischievous prankster. However, the drive-through lane was vacant, shrouded in darkness. As I turned away, the tapping suddenly shifted to the front entrance. I glanced at the entrance doors, my heart racing, and saw them swing slightly, as if pushed by an unseen hand. Nervous but determined to get to the bottom of it, I walked towards the entrance. The doors remained still, their glass panels reflecting my own tense expression. Just as I was about to dismiss the whole thing as my imagination, the lights above flickered, bathing the restaurant in an eerie glow. I froze in my tracks, feeling a growing sense of unease. The lights continued to flicker, and a feeling of being watched settled over me. I tried to shake off the sensation, attributing it to the late hour and my own exhaustion. But as I turned to head back to the kitchen, I caught a glimpse of movement in the corner of my eye. Turning quickly, I saw a shadowy figure standing near the entrance. My heart pounded in my chest as I strained to make out any features, but the figure seemed to waver and shift, as if it were made of smoke. My breath caught in my throat as the figure raised a hand and beckoned me forward, its fingers tapping on the glass. With a mix of fear and curiosity, I approached the entrance once again. The figure's form remained indistinct, but its presence seemed to exude an otherworldly energy. The tapping continued, a rhythmic and unsettling sound that seemed to resonate within me. I hesitated, my mind racing with questions and uncertainty. What was this figure, and what did it want? As I stared at the tapping hand against the glass, a strange sense of connection washed over me, as if I were being drawn into its mysterious dance. And so, with a mixture of apprehension and fascination, I stood before the enigmatic figure, its tapping hand a bizarre and haunting invitation. The McDonald's that I thought I knew so well had transformed into a realm of uncertainty and the unknown, where the ordinary and the extraordinary intertwined, blurring the lines between reality and something beyond. Every fiber of my being urged me to retreat, to turn away from the figure that stood before me, its tapping hand a bizarre and haunting invitation. Yet, an inexplicable curiosity held me in its grip. The restaurant, once a haven of familiarity, had become a place of mystery and the supernatural. As I stood there, the figure's tapping seemed to take on a rhythm, a pattern that resonated with something deep within me. The lights flickered in response, casting dancing shadows that danced with the figure's movements. With each tap, I felt an odd connection, as if the figure's intentions were somehow reaching out to me. Summoning all the courage I could muster, I raised my hand to match the figure's tapping rhythm. The glass barrier that separated us seemed to quiver, as if responding to our shared cadence. The figure's movements grew more deliberate, and its form began to solidify, revealing faint outlines of a face and body. A shiver ran down my spine as I met the figure's gaze. Its eyes, while lacking distinct features, held an intensity that communicated emotions beyond words. An unspoken understanding seemed to pass between us, as if I were being initiated into a hidden world that existed alongside our own. With a sudden surge of determination, I extended my hand, mirroring the figure's invitation. Its form shimmered, and for a brief moment, its hand and mine seemed to touch across the barrier. A wave of energy coursed through me, a sensation of connection that transcended the physical. In that fleeting instant, images flooded my mind, vivid snapshots of moments that had occurred within the walls of the McDonald's throughout its history. Laughter of families sharing meals, the clinking of cups as friends gathered for late-night chats, and the gentle hum of conversations that had once filled the air. As the images faded, the figure withdrew its hand, and the lights returned to their steady glow. The connection that had briefly bound us seemed to dissipate, leaving me standing in the silence of the restaurant once more. The figure's presence began to wane, its form fading into the shadows. I watched as it retreated, a sense of gratitude and wonder lingering in the air. As its silhouette merged with the darkness, I realized that I had been given a glimpse into the realm beyond, a world where the echoes of the past intertwined with the present. I stepped back from the entrance, my heart racing and my mind a whirlwind of emotions. The McDonald's of Shadows had unveiled its mysteries to me, revealing a tapestry of stories that extended beyond the confines of time. The figure's tapping had bridged the gap between worlds, offering a tantalizing glimpse into the unknown. And so, as I resumed my duties that night, I carried with me the memory of the figure and the tapping that had bound us. The McDonald's I knew had transformed into a place of enigma and connection, a nexus between the mundane and the extraordinary. As the night unfolded, I couldn't help but wonder about the figure's origins, its intentions, and the endless stories that lay dormant within the quiet corners of the restaurant. The figure's tapping had offered a bridge between our worlds, a connection that defied explanation. Days turned into weeks, and the memory of that night remained etched in my mind. I found myself drawn to the abandoned McDonald's, often staring at the entrance where the figure had stood. The restaurant had become a place of intrigue and fascination, a testament to the extraordinary that could lie hidden within the ordinary. One evening, as I gazed at the entrance, I noticed a faint, ethereal glow. The figure materialized once more, its form more defined than before. This time, it stood still, its eyes fixed on mine. Without hesitation, I raised my hand in a gesture of recognition, mirroring the tapping rhythm we had shared. The figure responded with a faint smile, a flicker of emotions playing across its features. It extended its hand, palm facing outward, and then turned to walk away. I watched as it moved toward the darkness, its form gradually dissolving until it became one with the shadows. As I stood there, a sense of closure washed over me. The figure had returned, not to invite me into its realm, but to convey a silent message. It was as if it had acknowledged our connection and was now moving on, a guardian of the McDonald's. In the days that followed, I continued to work my night shifts at the restaurant. The tapping ceased, and the figure never reappeared. Yet, the memory of that night remained with me, a reminder that the world held mysteries beyond our understanding. The McDonald's continued to stand, its presence a reminder of the enigmatic encounter that had changed my perspective. And so, as I moved forward, I carried the memory of the figure and the tapping rhythm that had bound us. The experience had taught me that even in the most ordinary places, there can exist extraordinary connections, waiting to be discovered by those who dare to listen to the whispers of the unknown.